because you do not know the Scripture or the power of God. And you think about that. How many men really spend time in God's Word and go deep?
Not really many.
No. I mean, and so that's why men have more difficult learning or feeling comfortable in a church. So we want to think back yourself when you first started. How uncomfortable was it for you to come to a church and stand around with, like, what are these people really going about? What are they going to do? So that's what we look at. So we want to really see men transformed for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think this is a cultural thing. I think it's very true across the lines. Out of every 10 men in the church, think about this. All 10 struggle with balance of work and family. Anyone here disagree with that? It's tough, right? You know?
Yes.
Then 9 out of 10, this is the stat one. Try the little thing doesn't work. 9 out of 10 watch at least one of their kids walk away from the church. And you think of when they hit 18 to 20, what happens to them? You know, a lot of kids walk away. I can send that to you if you want it. 8 out of 10 don't find their job satisfying. 6 out of 10 pay the minimum on their credit card. This number is low. 5 out of 10 men deal with pornography. I'll show you a slide. I think it's in this at the end. And 4 out of 10 will get divorced. That's in the church.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got a battle ahead of us. And this is a stat that I look at, and it really kind of makes me upset, but yet I understand it. So if you get a child who comes to church and gets involved, 17% of the time he will affect the family. And then if the mom comes and gets involved, 42% time will the whole family. Look at what happens if the man gets connected. Yet, how much money do we spend on children and teenagers? And need to. That's not an issue. We need to because they're an opportunity. But we've left out the man.
Mm-hmm.
How many churches are male-friendly? Think about it. Now, I work with about 60 churches. And so I have found very few that are male-friendly. And you have to sit there and go, huh? But how many, when a man comes in, he's looking for something. And these 3 questions are key. Is this bigger than me that I can give myself to it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't we want to challenge as men? So it's very important for your pastor to communicate the big vision. Then secondly, and you guys know this is hard, do I have anyone to go with me? Well, a man's not going to go out and ask someone to go with him, right? We don't hold hands like the ladies do, right? All right, so we've got to provide on-ramps for that man. How do we get that man connected? If I use a word you don't understand, please tell me. And I'll sometimes say something that I'm like, wait a minute. Because everyone has different little, whatever you call those things they use. And so if you don't understand something, stop me. Then the third and most important question, is there a process that tells me my next steps? Aren't we map readers as men? Do we ask for directions or do we read a map? Yeah. We'll read a map anytime, brother. Mm-hmm. Our wives always ask for the direction, or at least mine does. So we've got to find ways to connect with the men. So these are the 5 types of men. You've got them in your deal. I'll send you the PowerPoint.
I know, but I just want to look cool.
Oh, okay.
Using my new app.
All right. You have at it. All right. So there are 5 types of men. You have men who come that may be unbelievers, right? Now, they're the most difficult to reach. The second, and this is so important, what we're finding in our stats, and it, again, varies by church, but 60% of the men are cultural Christian. Now, what is a cultural Christian? I'm going to read off of this, so I want to go on. There are men sometimes that are on the fringe. There are men that sometimes come every other Sunday, come once a month, come when their family's here. They're men who may be believers, probably most are, but there's little spiritual growth in them. And we found that that's about 60% of the men represented in an average church. So that's a hard man to reach. Then you've got the biblical man who wants to grow. That's the easy guy to reach. You offer a Bible study, he'll be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you offer one for that cultural guy, he's not going to show up because that intimidates him. And so we got to find ways to do that, and that's what we'll talk about. Then the servant leader, discipler, that's you guys and other guys in the church. And that's about 10% of the men in the church. And so now we've got a 10% that maybe need Christ. We've got 60% that are biblical and 10% that are servant leaders. So what does that leave us for the guys wanting to grow? About 20%. Now, that's just a Bob Ryan average over the churches. So, but if that's the case, then we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Now, the last guy is the hurting man. How many men do you know that are hurting?
Mm-hmm.
And because it covers all four of those other areas. It's tough on men today. I mean, it's harder than I've ever seen it, and I'm 72, and it's just hard today to see this. All right, so let's look at this guy. He's going to be very low-level commitment. Man, he wants out of here quick, but he also knows he needs something. Now, is it Christ? But he knows there's something missing in his life. So this is a guy we really have to focus on, make feel welcome, and help him understand those three things. Is there a challenge here for me? Do I have a way of connecting with men? And third, do they care enough about me that they'll show me my next steps? Then there's the cultural guy I've already talked about. This guy's on that fence of, well, I'd kind of like to grow in Christ, but, he's still wrestling with that. And so we have to help that man have a shift in his thinking. Mm-hmm. Then the biblical, he's the guy, we love those guys because they're here ready to grow and want to grow. And then the servant leader, disciple maker. And I want you to think about that. I'm going to back up and go here. The unbeliever is focused on who?
Himself.
Me. The cultural is focused on me and God. The biblical is God and me. The servant leader is God and others. Mm. So that's the progressive step for men to grow. And I love that concept of that. All right, then the hurting man. How many men would you say in your church are hurting? Percentage-wise, if you want to.
This is hard to tell because not all of it's shown.
Most of it will not show.
Mm-hmm.
But we keep the mask up. Yeah, someone asks you, how are you doing? What do you say?
Good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just doing
everything's great. They just had a disaster. But everything's great, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's the hurting guy. All right, now and there's some of the areas that they'll be hurting in. And you think about those guys, they hide it. So, let me ask this question. How many men do you have in your ministry to men, Eddie? I'm sorry. How many men do you have in your ministry to men? You don't have one going yet, but sort of you do, because some are mentoring, some are doing some other things. Every man that's connected to your church is in the ministry to men. They don't know it yet, but they are connected. If we get that mindset, how does that help us? Well, we want to identify who they are. A wife may come, but the husband does not. Well, he's still connected to your church. Who are those guys? Who knows those guys? And the other one is, what are their needs? And this is huge. And then, what are their interests? So now I want to shift gears, and I'm going to go down at that end since we've got this. So we're going to talk about.
Okay.
There we go.
You want us to go and sit like
It's up to y'all. Yeah, whatever you want to do.
it's a little too far, isn't it? No, está muy lejos.
¿Conseguiste algunos marcadores que funcionan esta vez?
No.
Oh, you're going to move. Good luck on that one.
Sorry, yes.
All right. I'm just going to.
Vamos. Oh no. That's all we got, brother.
What's this cheap church doing here?
I know.
What's the deal? Let's see if this one will work any better. All right.
¿Yo puedo buscar una? ¿Quieres?
¿Dónde?
That's all right. We can use red. We
I
can,
think
we can use the red as long as you can see it. That's the main thing. All right. So, what are ways to reach this guy? He shows up on a Sunday with his family. How do we reach him?
Context.
Conversation? Yeah. What are men hunting for? Think about it.
Relationships.
Exactly. A man going to go out and go, oh, I just found my best friend. They're going to be doing it. Right? So, relationship, conversation are very important in this process. How else can we reach this? I'm just going to put, I think this is not right very well. How else do we reach this guy?
Sports.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
excellent. Y'all had a soccer tournament not too long ago, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And how many men came, or was it children that you did?
It was for children.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you do a soccer tournament, how many men that might need Christ would show up if invited? Keyword, invited. All right, what happens in a soccer tournament? So you get upset at each other occasionally. But what happens in a soccer tournament?
Can I relate to each other?
We're having fun. When I'm having fun, do I not relate better to people?
The walls come back a little bit. So
Yeah,
you can kind of
exactly.
relax a little
Yeah. And so when men are laughing, men are out competing, then they're going to talk a little more.
bit.
So when they come to church, we want to be sure here. Secondly, we got to do something here. What else what else would reach this guy?
We had talked about Jose, you want to say something?
Yes.
Oh no, we just had talked about once and maybe going fishing or something like that.
Yeah. Some outdoor. I'm just put the word outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
You can get Keith Herman. He can help you with fishing. All right. What about this? Don't men like to get their hands dirty?
Yeah.
So, a service project, going to some widows or someone's home, helping with that, something like that. You're working side by side. Men relate best side by side, not eyeball to eyeball. Our wives, we better be eyeball to eyeball with. We're kind of doing this, but that's all right. But men relate best side by side. So if I'm side by side working with a man, how much more conversation am I going to have with him? We're going to talk casually, right? It's not going to go deep. We know that, right? But we're going to talk and we're going to begin to develop that relationship. All right? Any other ideas on how we can reach this guy? Oh, no. I tell every leadership team that I work with, if you feed a man, he comes, right? You know, if you'll feed a guy, he'll come.
Mm-hmm.
So we can combine some of these and really be able to reach that guy. Now, he's going to feel comfortable coming and doing something that is non-threatening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we build relationships. And it's so critical that we do so. All right?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
So this is the thing. So we are having sports like soccer. So
Yeah.
we play soccer every Friday night.
Yeah.
And so we're already having like a lot of new guys
Yeah.
come, unchurched guys. But one of the problems is we don't know, and we've been talking about this with Matt the other day, is that how do we build a bridge between that and our community? That's
I'm
because
glad that you said that.
it's not happening. Like they're
Well,
not coming to church.
Here are ways. You always, you want a
Oh.
next step for them. You got to think next step.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So, and next step means an invite.
Like for an outdoor, like
Yeah.
the guys that come to play soccer, hey, we're gonna go out fishing in
Or
2 weeks.
We're going to do a service project. Would you like to come?
Mm,
See, so you can't do this every week, but understand once a month you have the next step. Right? That next step works. And everything you do, you always are thinking, what would be the next step for them? Okay? What if the guy's saying, man, I'm kind of struggling with my marriage. He will probably say that right up front. Or, he may say, hey, I'm having trouble with my children. Well, then, what about some topical study for 6 weeks or less that you can invite him to? You got to find out. Have you done the survey that I sent you? No, you haven't.
I don't know what survey is it.
Okay, I'll send it. I'll resend it. You'll have to translate it.
Oh, I have to translate it? Okay. For these guys?
No. To do it in the service. What I'll do is I'll send you a survey. I can probably do it with Microsoft and at least get 90% accurate. And send you a survey of what are men interested in? What type of studies would they like? What are some of the things that they, there's 4 things on it.
Oh, okay.
It's a half a page, and so hand it out during their service. Get guys to fill it out and take it up, because if not, you won't get it.
Yeah.
But it's a survey that can give you a lot of this information. All right, so we've got guys. This group of guys are very similar to this group of guys. But here's the kicker: they are interested in something spiritual. Now, not deep. It has to deal with where their interest is. One of the number one topics that we found with this survey is leadership. Men are struggling. How do I lead my family? Right? Well, how many of you had a model?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a model, you're kind of, and men don't like to fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to fail. So I don't do it, right? So a topical study on leadership, leading in your family, leading with how to relate to your children, finances is another. Men don't want to admit that, but finances is a struggle. Another one is marriage, parenting, like I've already said. But you find that topical study. Okay, now we're here. We invite them to this, so we've given them another step. We also, this guy will come and do the same thing. Now we get him hooked in. Now our goal with him is to move him. All right. Anyway, that is not area.
¿Tú crees que yo busque el otro?
I tried to
Hace
look
10
for one.
minutos yo pudiera-
Jose.
That's all right. We'll make it work. Here we go. I'm just going to have to close it up. All right. Now, our goal here is to move the cultural guy to here. All right. So, okay, you're all are mentoring a couple. Coming 2 couples?
Yeah.
All right. So, if that's the case, then you've moved them from here to here already. Mentoring is a great way because it's non-threatening in a very significant way. But there's other things that we can do. What is their need spiritually? What one thing do they need spiritually? That's a question we want to ask. And we can talk to them about, well, how can I help you feel like you can grow more in Christ? All right? That survey will give that to you, by the way. But my point is this. So we moved him to some Bible study. And it may be, have you ever looked at the survival kit?
I think once we did before we started.
Yeah.
So it was called Survival Kit. We looked it up with Eddie.
Yeah. But that's basic. I mean, it's basically how to pray, how to have a quiet time. Very, very basic. But something like that may be the next step for this guy right here, to move him over here.
So I have a question. So with the topical start of the 6 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
so the main point there is 6 weeks.
Yes, short time, short
So
commitment.
so the guys come to soccer. We come up with a plan of, let's say, a service
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, okay.
And
Next
so
step.
it's in that service project, we give a 3-minute devotional before we go out
Right.
to help the old ladies in town.
Mhm.
And then we go out, do it, and then after we say, hey guys, we're starting, it's just a 6-week
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be easy, it's awesome, it's fun, it's with men only.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But
It's probably something about leadership. Or,
yeah,
Whatever. You just, you'll find out what
feel
the
it out.
but
I mean,
the 6
so
weeks is a thing there.
maximum. You can even do 4 weeks. I'll
Yeah.
tell you the book.
You're like, I can do that.
It's small. It's not too
I can do 4
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah. Well, the book Man in the Mirror that
Mhm.
we have in
Yeah.
Spanish. That book has 24 topics for men. So you pick 4. Simple. I'll get all of y'all a copy. I'll order them and I'll get them for you. Okay.
Okay.
And but that you take 4 topics. Well, what happens to the guy when he's like, wow, I can really relate to this. This is exactly where I'm at. Let them pick out the topics. And then you just talk through it. And then, well, you end 4 weeks. Did you like that? Yeah. Would you like to do another 4 weeks? You're giving him his next step, right? And so,
That makes a lot of sense.
and then, then say, okay, now here's another key that is so, so important. We do terrible at this. I'm talking church-wide.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's say right here, these guys just finished a topical study.
Mm-hmm.
We do this right here.
Celebrate.
I mean, why? He accomplished something. Now, how does he feel when we celebrate?
Very cool.
We make it.
Yeah. I accomplished, check. I feel good. Now, how much more motivated might he be to come to him? And so that's what we have to think of. Well, then our funnel is to get number of guys growing so that they move over here into leadership. And when they move over into leadership, they're now going back, meaning and pouring into these 2 groups of guys. So now we in time will have an army that continually, it's basically what y'all are doing, that just continually does it.
So
What?
after they pass the Bible study, they start like serving leader.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would call people overall influencers. That's a simpler word, but I mean, and that's what they do. They come back and influence these people to grow in Christ.
But we could change that.
So that's and so now we've got this process. A friend of mine always says it's a funnel. I don't, anyway, you got a funnel up here's where they're at, starting, move them here. We eventually come out where they're now disciple makers. They go back up and start all over with someone else taking them through the funnel. But it doesn't really matter what you want to call it. But my point is, we're continually discipling people at wherever they're at. That's the most critical thing. Wherever they are at.
Mm.
And if we have that in mind, let's don't try to get a guy that's lost over here.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Well, it's typical. Oh, look at this man.
And we're done.
that was my call. Eddie wanted to go like 20 years earlier.
No,
Are you going back?
I'll be back. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm coming back down there.
So as you're doing your thing there, so would you say that like maybe ours or the churches in general main problem is that we just focus on these two guys.
Yeah.
And so, because these guys will come to the Bible study.
Okay, so here's what we're doing.
Ah, that's better.
30% of our guys is who we're reaching.
That's the biblical leaders.
Yeah.
Just 30%.
Can we apply this with our church?
Yes, sir. Women work for. We talk about men because that's my field, but how many women, children?
Yeah, but I mean, like all men from church, like they're not leaders, but
Yeah.
work on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, the more a guy grows, and then you teach him here some biblical leadership principles, he starts moving. Oh, I can do that. Well, if he feels he can do it and won't fail, and then we set up another culture in the church is if you didn't fail, you just learn something new that we can help you with. And that's so important because men don't want to fail. And if we don't want to fail, we don't do, right? Because we're chickens.
That's right.
So, and then one of the things that we talked about earlier was one of the other ways if they come with their spouse. When we did cell groups when I was on staff, we call them turbo groups. All right, it's a light study for 6 weeks, and they come to that. Well, they build relationships around the table, and when they build relationships around the table, we find out where that man is at or the woman, either one. But then we can say, okay, we know their next steps, and we start thinking in terms of next steps to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? You look at your church, and this is where most churches are reaching their people, right there.
Yeah.
So we leave out roughly, it'll vary, but let's just say 70%.
Maybe of the whole church. Like I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look at our church,
Yeah, it can be.
that could probably be very close.
But you go into the big room in there, that number's right there easily.
Mm-hmm.
We had the same battle at Pinnacle. Goodness. I tried to get to know every man I could. There's no way. Because he would come in, last minute, sit down. I did my duty, check.
He's out.
Yeah.
In the car.
But there were guys in my leadership team, guys that led my small groups, that knew that guy. They went after him. And some we reached. We started I'm going to throw out some ideas, but we started running groups. Started a bow group. Some guys like to shoot a bow. We started cycling groups, motorcycle group. The Faith Rider's still going here today.
You guys started Faith Rider?
Uh-huh. And so we looked at avenues where men are at that we could reach. Well, the running group and cycling group met at a gym to start off with. Now, every time you do any of this, you have a short devotion and prayer. And most people are not going to object to that. So then you go and run. Well, what am I doing if I'm running or cycling or whatever I'm doing? What am I doing? I'm going to talk. We're going to build a relationship, right? So that's what we can do. Well, so those were avenues. In essence, they weren't topical studies, but they were avenues to connect men. So soccer is an avenue to connect men.
Well, that's the first step.
Yeah.
What we were lacking is, we didn't know is that second step.
I'll send you the survey. If I don't, remind me tomorrow. And
Okay.
I'll get it to you.
Because we were trying is from lost to biblical.
Yeah.
And
No
that
way.
just does not happen.
You've just scared the guy to death.
Yeah, and that's what we're probably doing
Yeah.
in some sense.
But, and if you I was just with a group of pastors earlier this afternoon, and one of them's he said, I finally have 2 guys. He's trying to mentor some guys to prepare them for later. He said he had 2 guys that came to Christ. He said they are so hungry And so he's taking them through a study, and he's like, "Oh, it feels so good to get some guys really hungry." And they've led other guys to Christ now, and they're joining the group. So I think you've got 4 or 6 guys now in the group. We started with 2, and the group multiplied because these guys were reaching other guys. And again, through relationships, through things like that.
It's been good.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, it's really helpful. I think we have been trying to make the wrong jump, and when people fall short, they're like, I don't think I want to do this again.
By the way, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Really?
I read the book, which I've given you, Pastoring Men.
Mm-hmm.
I read that book, and I went, oh, so that's why. So we had a father-child fishing trip we planned, and we had a father-son sports competition, and it was little stuff, it was simple that any kid could do. We told the dads, you don't have to win. That's not the idea. So don't beat your kid to death trying to get him to, excel. And that's how we found ways to connect these two guys both. Mm-hmm. And then we had the next step for them. Hey, we're going to have a topical study on how to be a better dad. Would you like to do it too?
Which is a turbo whatever, right?
Well, it could be a turbo group, but it would be a turbo group dealing with topical studies.
And that's a bridge. That's a bridge that
it's
we
a
like.
bridge. And then you have, you have a couple of your good leaders in there. That's one leading it. Then you have a couple others that are there to support what happens. Now they're building those relationships.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Every Saturday, 5:50. I'm in front for the men's and the pray
Mm-hmm.
and do like little small worship for them. But my question is this: there's new people coming that I feel like they're new,
Right.
and we already like 3-4 weeks in advance learning a playground, checking
Mm-hmm.
notes and everything. How can I do it that way they can get in the same level? It's something that how can I explain that? I feel like we already know this.
Right.
Like example, we already see this movie. They haven't seen the movie.
Right. Exactly.
I wanna make sure they also see the movie that what we're looking at.
What you may have to do is start a group out of that for them to help them catch back up. Because, again, you always think this, guys don't want to fail. So if I look around and those guys were 4 weeks ahead of me, what am I going to feel like?
That's right.
Yeah, and so they're not going to catch up. I mean, I wish there was a way, but see, in a topical study, they can, because it's light enough that they can probably catch up. Mm-hmm. Say, hey, here's some of the notes you can pick up on. One of the things I would do is do some abbreviated notes with some of the scriptures. Hey, look over this next week, and then you'll be close to catching up.
I was saying like you could have someone who has been there, follow them, like tutor
that
person, meet with them outside of the
very good way of doing it. Yeah.
That would form a connection.
That's
with
really
them also.
good. That's really good.
Because
like assigning us, like you assign Matt these 2 guys that are new. You assign me and Fabian the other 2 guys.
Kind of fill them in like what you
And then what do you start? You're starting a mentoring relationship that men are starving for. Like you guys are doing. Are you finding that they, and so, those are things that, it's just, we're always thinking what would be the best next step for wherever they're at. And then we meet their need there. If we meet their need, they're going to become more engaged.
Another question.
Sure.
After I finish the book that I'm studying and getting some questions from that and start working on everybody with that, if I finish this book, what's the next step that I can do more, like a little more
Deeper.
process to them?
Okay, to take them deeper into the stuff. All right. There's a lot of studies out there. I don't know what you're doing, but
We're doing Tony Evans.
Oh,
Doing
Experience my experience with God for the family.
Okay.
That's what you're doing?
Mhm.
I thought he was on like man of the kingdom of kingdom men.
Kingdom
20.
Men's Tony Evans.
No,
Yeah.
no, he's doing Black and Blue study of
Wow.
for the family.
See how much attention I pay.
Yeah, it's about leadership of with the family.
Wow. That's a great study. So,
That's a little deeper. Yeah. Yeah.
well, then I would continue something on either marriage or leadership. One of the two, even though you're still, men are hungry for leadership. And so I would either continue that, but take a biblical character. There's several out there. Joseph, Moses. Okay, and I haven't finished my Moses study, but I mean, I finished it now. I've got to write it. But take someone like, how did Moses lead? I mean, look at that. I mean, how he led a few million people with time, for 40 years in the desert. How would you like to have that job? I mean, but look at how he led and dealt with them. And his humble spirit, his praying spirit that Moses had. Well, now you're taking the Bible, making the Bible alive that a lot of people have never seen. There are, Chuck Swindoll's written a book on Moses. There's some others out there. But someone like that's what I would do to follow up with. Because you're engaging them in the Bible, but in a way that they're not expecting to be engaged in the Bible.
Mhm.
Because how many people know a lot about the characters of the Bible? Okay, good. Those are great questions.
Mm-hmm. What else, guys?
Something that we talked about before is like, you get a leader that will reach out to the lost and kind of make a cycle. That's really great too that you came. It's been very interesting.
Well, I mean, how long have y'all been working with couples you've been working with? How long have you been working with the
¿Qué tiempo
couples?
discipulado con tu gente? No, ¿cuántos has estado haciendo?
18 weeks.
Wow. So they're about ready to now go. And so there you are. See, I mean, this is the thing that we have to get used to. It simply takes time. And discipleship takes time. And we're used to instant gratification. We hit the microwave button, right? And we expect it. No, it's not going to happen. I mean, so that's where now you'll have 2 more couples, so that's now 6. That'll actually be 18 people. I'm going to do my math right. 18 people that are now being mentored. And see, that's the cycle. Well, what happens after that? There's some of these that can flip over into these areas. Because once you've mentored for a while, you get it, And so, but I can remember when I came and we talked and you were like, oh yeah. You sure you got me for this? Right? But, now it's fun. And, so these are the targets. We got to identify these people. And that's the big thing. How do we identify who knows them, who could build a relationship with?
Mm-hmm. There's some good ideas for service projects, like you were saying.
Yeah.
My dad went on a missionary project to, I think it was Ohio. He built a deck for like a little old lady, and he had a great experience. Something like that, building.
Well, I had one of my groups I failed to mention was a repairmen's group. I think is what they call it. But they literally would go to a widow's house or someone's house. We had 15 guys in there. And, they may only need 2 or 3 of them. And so they did the devotion, short prayer. They could invite a friend, non-threatening, right? Invite a friend. And then they went. And then before they left, they'd pray over the home. And that impressed the guys so much. It was like, really? I mean, they were probably, part of them were lost. Some of them were cultural. But that impressed them. You guys would take time to pray over that home. And so you can even start a group if you got guys that have those skills to.
I think we do.
minor repairs. Don't get anything major because you can get in trouble with that. But minor repairs, lawnmower, raking leaves, stuff like that. Man, that's it. Guys love it. 2 hours of commitment. I'm done. I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to offer them the next step. Now that you found all these black pens. But so think in terms, it's always the next step from here to here, because this is all about me. This is me and God. God and me, God knows. Now, what we left out of group, right? What about this guy? You already know, but you all go through at midnight, right? No. Getting is very simple. Wherever he's at, get him connected. When you get him connected into a group, you're dealing, because now he's got people around him that can help and love him. That's what he's really wanting. Yeah. So,
Well, how do we? That's the hard. For me, that's the least practical. Like, how do I?
It's hard to even know what the guy's hurting at, right?
Because I'm part of that group too, in one sense.
Yeah. You know, it is. So, but the guy, when you have guys around you, and the walls start coming down,
Mm-hmm.
now I can deal with my hurt. And that's what we have to do. I mean, you think of it in that term. This guy is in any of these areas, but we get him connected with a group of guys around him. His wall in time will come down. And then he's like, oh, this is so freeing. This is so good. You think he's not committed?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you also could offer, like we had divorce care, we had grief care, we had one other, I don't know what it is, and that they could connect in as well. But our goal was, if they went to those, how do we move them up here? Because they're hurting. They may, and most people hurting to a larger degree, fit in these two categories than in these two categories. But there still are plenty right here, because it's just hard today.
More question?
It's been very enlightening.
Very much.
What I'm here to do is help you guys, and we can come back and cover some other things at another time. But this will get you started, and then you can begin to think through. But I'll send you that survey.
Yeah.
And I'll send it to you. I can't.
I don't think.
I've worked with so many churches that.
I know. Yeah, I don't remember that survey, but yeah,
probably,
that would definitely be good.
Well, and you translate it and find out what the guys are interested in. If you scratch his itch, he's going to be happy.
And the good thing is that, this really helps us getting started. Like now, for example, in my mind, that this does not have to be right. But in my mind, we're already having some of the things for the lost. We're having soccer.
Yeah.
We could, of course, we can have more stuff there. And then we're having things for the biblical one and for the leaders. And it's just that step that we're lacking. Yeah. And so
most churches leave this step out.
Yeah.
Because we don't think in those terms. We got to get them from right over here to here. Oh, hello. They don't even know what the Bible is, some of them.
Yeah.
That's one of the things working. Eddie, I'm sure you've seen this too, but working, I go to Africa in 2 countries. I go to Haiti once a year. And other countries that I go to, well, you see more of this. It's more evident than it is here because we're good at putting on the mask.
Mm-hmm.
So that really nailed that in. In Africa, they had this football there, but it's soccer. They decided when I finished there, they decided to have a soccer tournament. And I'm going, but what else are you going to do on the side? Because the guys are going to be waiting. They have can't remember the name of it. It's something like chess and checkers that they all love to play there, and it's a mix of the two. I didn't get a chance to play it because I was so busy on the other things. But anyway, so they had side games of that going. Well, if I'm sitting here competing with another guy or two or three, I think they could play four at this one, I think. But anyway, what am I going to be doing? What kind of conversations am I going to be having? And so they had it among the different churches, and they had guys that were planted in those different outside games, and then they had guys competing. But one of the things where the next step, whatever a guy takes, especially once they move into topical studies, celebrate it. That is so huge. Now, you don't have to make a big deal from a standpoint in front of the church. Once in a while, that's great. Whenever, even if y'all do a service project or something special for a group, celebrate that in front of the church. Because you're still sending a message to the guy that's sitting out there that is in your ministry to men. He just doesn't know it yet. But he's like, oh, wow, I could have done that. I didn't know about that. Or, wow, I'd like to do that.
Or his wife.
Yeah, his wife going, yeah.
And you get to be part of that.
Yeah.
Why don't you fix our deck?
Well,
Yeah.
we had a guy come this past weekend, Saturday morning, and he's new. I mean, the first time he ever came to church was last week, and so
Yeah.
he comes on Saturday at 6 a.m.
Wow.
And so the guy, we were like, "Well, how did you get here?" And he just said, "Well, my wife heard about this, and she."
Oh, yeah.
Basically, she just woke him up and.
Well, but in a lot of churches, I tell them you want to develop allies with other people in your church, like the women's coordinator. That's your number one ally because she can tell the wives and who's going to,
Yeah, I guess that was funny.
you know, and so you look at that too. But anyway,
Now, I'm sorry, many questions, but
no, that's what.
so
I'm
where
hearing.
would you put there? So we're having what Fabian is doing and what we're learning to do. This 1-on-2 discipleship thing.
Right.
So where would we put it? Would you put it like in this step? Like after you finish
Yeah.
this, we're like, hey,
Yeah.
we got this. Like in the biblical.
Right. You want to. Well, again, you have this. You may need a certain amount of this just light.
Not just once.
Yeah.
Maybe you gotta do it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you want to have some light things that they begin to learn the basics. Right.
Before we get them to the discipleship.
Right. Even though it's being discipled because the Word of God's being shared.
Well, yeah, that's right.
And the Spirit of God can do anything if the Word of God's being shared. So that's why I say you do prayer and a short devotion at the beginning of whatever you're doing because the Spirit can get a hold of people.
That's right.
So we never, so we always want to think that. But, if you're getting a guy that's just started to come, well, I mean, that's ready for the next step, but it's got to be a light next step because he's got to build confidence that he can do this. That's the key word. Men need the confidence that they can do something. Then they're willing to step out of the box. You deal with marriages, right?
Yeah.
How many men really understand their wives?
Sure.
How many of you understand? Never mind.
Yeah, that's like very hard.
I've been married 48 years and I still don't quite understand mine. But, the point is, but men want to know.
Yeah.
See, that's a good topical study.
Now, what do you see, Jose? Do you see like men, like when you counsel the couples, that wives are more like, I want to learn, and men are more like,
Yeah, usually it's the wife who doesn't know more about how to do with marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the wife the husband comes to, okay,
Yeah.
let's sit down and let's talk about that.
Well, what I did when I did a lot of marriage counseling, I would start with the husband, but I would always try to have a group, and I didn't always have it going, but something for men on marriage, and so you have where, hey, would you join this group? Well, that's a topical study, but
And usually in a program with marriage, you don't start with a lot of people. You can start with one couple, two couples,
yeah,
three
it's
couples.
kind of like Bobby.
Yeah, and that's the way to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you raise up, one of the things that kind of the same idea is you raise up some key people that can lead others.
Yeah, he's doing that.
Actually,
Yeah.
I have two couples also
All right,
working
good.
with me, and dealing with different aspects, finances, communication, marriage, and counseling with a couple. So we're working on it.
I've told Pablo that I would send him, and you need it. How to forgive. There's a process of forgiveness that's huge, and I've seen marriages literally repaired when they forgave each other.
Yeah.
But this is a deeper level of it. I'll send it to you, Pablo. And you can
Absolutely.
send
That is a big issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Forgiveness?
Yeah. Well, I've been hurt, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm hurt, what do I want to do?
That is the thing that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Look how Rocky's going to get a hold of you.
Rocky!
Yeah, it's great. But there's, so that's enough for tonight. But we'll come back and do another thing when you're ready for me.
Awesome. Yeah, this has really opened my eyes. Because we've been talking about this. We lack that.
Well, and that don't most churches.
Okay. Yeah. Just build a plan from that, so that we can get more people to the small group. That's good, man. Well, I don't know if any of you guys have any more questions.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Believe me, it really is.
Eddie, I see you have a question face.
No, I don't.
He's just processing.
I know how he is. Yeah, he's probably right now processing stuff in his head. Good deal.
I have a lot of stuff in marriage too. Sometimes if you want to sit down. We've taught it for 25 years, so.